Hello, I'm Bailey Becker, and welcome to episode 4 of How Game of Thrones Undermines Itself, Itsy Bitsy Spider. Now, Varys, aka the Spider, Master of Whisperers, is one of the most unpredictable characters in Game of Thrones. Everybody knows he's dishonest, but everybody thinks he's dishonest in their service. In his own words, a spider does not have the luxury of scruples. Now, he claims that his treacherous and deceptive dealings are a necessary evil, that he serves the realm as a whole, that his actions, his betrayals, his lies are in the broad populace's long-term best interest. But that is emblematic of the series' relativistic approach to morality. But I would say that his claims of serving the greater good are extremely dubious, to say the least. It is pointed out by Daenerys herself. He claims that his ultimate goal is to restore House Targaryen in the person of Daenerys to the throne. Daenerys herself calls him on this, since supporting Targaryen restoration would have first meant supporting her psychotic older brother Viserys. When called on this, he basically just repeats his shtick again, that he serves the people and the realm as a whole, and that Daenerys on the throne is what's best for all of them. He doesn't really refute any of her accusations, but she relents anyway. First, obviously, supporting Daenerys is bad. Supporting Viserys is bad for everybody, and he doesn't really give a good reason for this. And furthermore, I would question whether supporting Daenerys is really in the country's best interest based on the huge mess that resulted when she conquered the slave cities. Now she did manage to get it back under control, but only after it came as close to as humanly possible to collapsing. She would have been killed in the Sons of the Harpies attack on the arena had her dragons not rescued her. I would argue that without her dragons, she would have failed, and just to keep control over these three cities, with all her other military resources, she would still have failed without her dragons. And now she has to try to control and pacify an entire continent, and she's down to 2 dragons. Also, I'd argue that she benefited from just facing weaker enemies in Essos than the protagonists in Westeros had to deal with. I mean, would you compare the Spice King or Zarzone Daxos or Krasnos no Miklos or any of the antagonists she faces in Essos to Tywin Lannister or the High Sparrow or Roose Bolton or Euron Greyjoy or the Night King? I wouldn't. And predictably, when she arrives in Westeros, her forces lose every battle they're in, except for the one where her dragons are present. And as soon as the dragons themselves meet an opponent against whom they do not have an overwhelming advantage, the Night King, 1 out of 3, that's a third of the force, dies instantly. So I question, again, whether she's really the one we want ruling all of Westeros. And I think this is further reinforced by the simple fact that she continues to rely on Varys in any capacity after all the evidence has been confronted, and he hasn't refuted it. Basically, he played her ego by saying that she was the best for Westeros, that her on the throne was in the people's best interest. That's what she wants to hear, after all, and so she bought it. I would argue anybody that gullible and that arrogant shouldn't be trusted to manage a 7-Eleven, much less hold absolute power over an entire continent. The fact that she believes his garbage, she buys his junk, shows that he shouldn't be supporting her if he really claims to want the best for the realm. Furthermore, Viserys' own actions in the backstory caused the downfall of House Targaryen. He told Daenerys' father Aerys that Aerys' oldest son, Rhaegar, was plotting to remove him from power, and that a tournament organized by Rhaegar was actually a cover for Rhaegar trying to gather all the great lords together to present this plan and get their help with it. And on Varys' advice, Aerys attended that tournament and prevented such a council from happening. It's likely this is true, since Rhaegar himself admitted to Jaime just before his death that he had planned to remove his father from power. So Varys, the two names sound so similar. Varys thwarted what the only chance of removing the Mad King from power peacefully, and thus ensured that a war to overthrow him would happen, which in turn resulted in the War of the Five Kings, both of which were extremely bloody and destructive, not good, and with winter coming on, not good for the realm at all. So he's either they're lying about having the realm's best interest at heart, or he's delusional about what's actually conducive to that end. I think his real objective is to install a figurehead through whom he can rule, since I think he wants to rule, but he knows that as a eunuch, a foreigner, and a commoner, he can never be king himself. It was, after all, said during Aerys' reign that Varys had more power than the king. I think Varys most likely wants that restored. Viserys, of course, would be perfect for that, and I think, but that's not an option anymore, and he's hoping to do the same with Daenerys. And I believe in the book, that's what he was hoping to do with Aegon VI, and Aegon VI is an out of touch. Anybody who's read the books would agree, I'm sure, that Aegon VI is an out of touch, arrogant, entitled brat who would also be a terrible king. Furthermore, I would also assert that, but of course I can't prove that. I would only say that there's no direct proof of this in the show itself. It's just that I would argue that based on the analysis of the facts I have presented, that conclusion makes a lot more sense than that he is telling the truth. Like, how could he, or he could be, or that he's crazy. That makes the most sense. I don't know, but either way, what he claims is not about what he claims about being for the realm's best interest is not true. Whatever else is true, that's a lie. I would also say that he is nowhere near as smart as he claims to be. He says knowledge is power, and tries to demonstrate that in his position as head of intelligence. But there are numerous important things he's totally in the dark about, such as the return of the White Walkers. He either doesn't, I'm not sure if he knows it's supposed to be happening or not, but he definitely doesn't believe it, and it's true. He lost control of his own spy network when he was away from Westeros. It was taken over by Cersei Lannister's henchman Qyburn, thus depriving his side of that valuable asset. If it was indeed a valuable asset at all, he lost it. Not promising. And possibly due to the loss of that spy network, he was completely ignorant of important sea changes in the political landscape, such as the alliance between Cersei Lannister and Euron Greyjoy, and Euron's rebuilding of the Iron Fleet after Yara and Theon stole a good portion of it, or the defection of House Tarly to House Lannister, or the depletion of Lannister gold reserves that made Casterly Rock a centerpiece of Tyrion's strategy, a worthless target. And all of that pretty much doomed Tyrion's strategy, and resulted in a huge loss of both military forces and material resources. So based on all that, I would say he's nowhere near as smart or as powerful as he claims to be. And if he isn't, then he has no business trying to determine the fate of an entire continent. And even if he were, let's not forget that Melisandre has actual prophetic and psychic abilities, and she manages to make some huge blunders. I'm sure no one who supports Varys and Daenerys would deny that. So if someone with actual psychic abilities manages to get it wrong, how much more so a normal guy? His claims his claims just do not hold water. the facts say his actions are not in the realm's best interest, nor is him being active at all in any capacity in the realm's best interest. And to say that the sneaky, dishonest person is in fact just harmful, and I would say completely morally wrong, and certainly clueless, is completely contrary to this series' themes of moral relativism. And of things not necessarily always being he is exactly, I would say he is exactly what he seems, an arrogant, evil schemer who grossly overestimates his own worth and his own capabilities. And for him to be exactly what he seems is completely contrary to this series' themes. Alright, thank you for watching. As always, like, share, subscribe, and comment about what I could do better or what you want to see more of. Alright, thank you. Goodbye.